Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global Marketing, International Marketing, Marketing 452. This is Chapter 3. In this chapter, let's talk about the cultural and social forces affecting international marketing. Okay? Can anyone recognize this? Do you know what this figure is? Yeah. I'll give you a few minutes to think about it. You might have seen it, but may have not seen it. Okay, this is actually Monkey King. Monkey King is a figure from it's a monkey, a very capable monkey. Let's put it this way, Monkey King, and he became a cultivator, and eventually he cultivated himself by accompanying a Tang Dynasty monk to the Western paradise to obtain the Buddhist scriptures and bring them back to China. This is a legendary figure. And through this cultivation and suffering through the hardships, he became an immortal, became Buddha. So this figure is well known in many Asian cultures, from China, I believe, to Vietnam, many Southeast Asian countries. Okay? Monkey King. Oh, back to as to the Monkey King, there's a novel that describes the whole journey. It's called the Journey to the West. Journey to the West. You have the Monkey King, you have the monk, and you have Pixie, and there's another one. Okay. In this chapter, we'll talk about the culture, definition of culture. We talk about the different aspects of culture, from religion to family, education, attitudes towards time, the Hofstede's measures of culture, language and communication, social relationship, how to overcome language barrier, and how to adapt to cultural differences. Okay. First, let's talk about culture. Yeah. When you think of culture, well, what comes to mind? What makes up culture? We say Western culture, American culture, right? And European culture, right? And Asian culture, right? We even have a corporate and corporate culture. We have within the United States, we have a southern culture, right? We know people in Southeast United States are somewhat different from those in the Northeast or in California or Texas. Right? So culture encompasses the entire heritage of a society. So culture encompasses the entire heritage of society. It includes traditions, old traditions, way of doing things, traditional way of doing things, morals, or moral standards, moral discipline, right? What is considered moral or immoral, okay? Habits, habits of people doing certain things, right? Religion, religion is not a part of culture, right? Art, art forms, art history, artifacts, right? Social systems, also part of culture. Of course, language, language is also an important part of culture. Okay? So culture, the definition of culture is that it is the collective programming of the mind that distinguishes the members of one category of people from another. This is kind of like a little bit awkward, unusual kind of definition. But it'll be in your test. Make sure you understand that and memorize it. Okay. Culture is a collective programming of the mind that distinguish the members of one category of people, that's one culture, from another. Okay. This is from by Professor Geert Hofstede. We'll talk about Hofstede in just a minute. Okay. So when you analyze a culture, right, what are the things that you need to look at to analyze a culture, to understand the culture? And so cultural analysis encompasses law and government of the culture. And in that culture, in those countries belonging to the culture, what are the forms of laws and governments? Okay? The religion, of course, within that culture, right? And the family, the type of family, the formation of family, family style, and family issues. Yeah. Education system inside the culture. They have a unique educational system. Their attitudes towards time, you know, is another thing you want to look at. Okay, language, as we said, and also social relationships, how people relate or interact with each other. Okay, families, kinships, etc. Right? So that's how you analyze a culture. Right? And also you have to realize that the culture changes. Right? There's a cultural change over time, or the cultural change because of the infusion of people or or cultural events, from other cultures. Right? So we say America is a melting pot, right? This is a melting pot because we incorporate American culture is consisting of largely Western European cultures, but we also have other cultures, merged, embedded, or melted into this original Western culture, the culture of the Western settlers, and that formed the American culture that we know of. And of course, the American culture today is different from European culture, and it's different from Asian culture, for example. That's also part of things that emerged or combined into the American culture. Layers of culture. Culture does have layers. And when you say the culture of the United States or American culture, that's a national culture. And we have seen a regional culture, the Southern style, Southern hospitality, the Southern culture, the culture of the South, or culture of the Northeast, New England, right? Or Midwest, or the southern part of the United States, right? And the West Coast. Okay? There are regional cultures or the ethnic cultures, there's the Caucasian American cultures, Black American cultures, Latino, Hispanic cultures, Asian American cultures. We'll have different subcultures, or religious or linguistic cultures. Right? We have Roman Catholic, we have a Baptist, we have other many denominations of Christians, churches, and other religions. Yeah. Linguistics, right? English, of course, is the common language used by most Americans, but we do have, I think there's over 50 or 100 different languages spoken in American families, in addition to English. Okay? Gender culture, male, female have different cultures. Right? Generational cultures, right? I'm sure you know the difference between your generation, your parents' generation, or maybe later on when you're getting older or have children, your kids, they have their own culture. Okay? Social classes, okay? Upper class, middle class, and lower class have their distinctive, different cultures. Okay? Organizational culture or corporate culture. Okay? Each company is corporation. In a university, and USC Aiken, we have our own culture. And you can think of the characteristic of the USC Aiken culture and how is it different from, say, other schools, big schools, in other parts of the world, of the country. So cultural, the influences affects consumers' buying behavior or buyer behavior. And how does it work? First, you have cultural forces, right? Cultural forces from your religion, what you believe, for your families, from your education you have attained, the language you use, and also your attitude toward time that's embedded in your education and family environments, right? Those are all cultural forces. Right? Cultural forces translate or transform into cultural messages, right? That's reflected in the symbols. We use certain symbols to mean certain things, right? Our moral standard or behavior for moral code of conducts, right? And also a lot of rules of behavior. What is appropriate, what is inappropriate in our society, in our culture. Right? We'll have a lot of knowledge about culture. So all the cultural forces shape our cultural messages. Right? The cultural messages will affect the consumer's decision process. Will have impact on the consumer's decision process because selecting and prioritizing our wants of goods and services. What is important to you, most important to you? You have limited amount of money or fund. Where do you want to spend first, right? Do you want to spend on buying houses, homes, or clothing, or cars, or you want to enjoy food, good food first, or vacation first? We have all those consumer decision process are affected by the cultural forces, cultural messages, and that lead to our consumer behavior, how we go about making purchases of goods or services that's offered. Okay? There is also cultural clash. Cultural clash. Professor Samuel Huntington. You might have heard about this guy. He's a professor at Harvard. He published a book called "Clashes of Civilizations and Remaking of World Order." Yeah. This book was published, I believe, 30, 40 years ago. Right? I first read it probably 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. I recommend you give the read to see if you like it. And you may be surprised to find that many of the things that we are seeing today in our world, the war in Israel, Hamas, Israeli government, and Ukrainian, Russian war there, yeah. A lot of things, Islamic Jihad, terrorist organizations, a lot of things, are mentioned or described or predicted by Professor Huntington. Yeah. And so the question we want to ask ourselves is, will cultural conflicts occur between cultures or not countries? That's his argument. Okay? Do you agree with that or not? Okay? There's no right or wrong answer. Okay? Like between Huntington is saying that of the cultures, Western culture, Orthodox culture, Confucian culture, Islamic culture, right? And Hindu culture, Latin American culture, African culture, right? And Buddhist cultures. Yeah. What would happen between countries or between cultures? Right? We're probably seeing something nowadays, right? Or some people believe that there will be increasing interaction, among cultures. Increasing interaction among cultures will lead to cross-cultural stimulation and creative change. Do you believe that's going to happen? Do you think so? In my opinion, I think both are happening. Cultural clashes, right, on one hand. On the other hand, cross-stimulation and for creative change is also happening. Okay? Religion and marketing. Yeah. Religion has impact on marketing, right? Marketing, right? And in Western religions, for example, we have gift giving during Christmas season, right? But it's Christmas on December 25th or December 6th. Right? We celebrate in this country, we celebrate on December 25th. In some European countries, they actually celebrate on December 6th. Okay? Kosher in Israel, You heard about the kosher food, right, in Israel, or halal food in some Arabic world. And for example, chocolate makers, the elite chocolate makers, they want to target. If they want to target the Orthodox Jews, they better make sure that it's kosher, is certified by kosher certified, right? Has a K in a circle to denote that. That's how they can even begin to sell chocolates to the Orthodox Jews. Buying matzah. Uh, uh, Matzah or masa or matzah is an unleavened bread traditionally eaten by Jews during the week-long Passover holiday. When eating chametz bread and other food made with leavened grain is forbidden according to the Jewish religious law. Okay, so and then there's the issue of you keep the tradition or you keep the price low or high. Right? That's the decisions business have to make. Right? So religious beliefs affect marketing activities. Okay? Christmas as a global phenomenon. China, for example. China is not a mostly Christian country, but sometimes the merchants businesses they charge bars charge $25 for entrance on Christmas Eve. Hotels charge $180 for Christmas function. Okay? In Turkey, children stand in line. Turkey is it's mostly Muslim countries, right? But children stand in line in shopping centers waiting to sit on Santa's lap and ask him for gifts. Right? Stores sell Santa shoes and statues in Turkey. Okay? Marketing and Islam. Right? An important cultural force in the Middle East is Asia and Africa is Islamic religion. Okay? Islamic religion. For Coca-Cola, for example, they had the Ramadan commercial first launch in Malaysia, right? Malaysian Ramadan commercial, they were able to actually use the same ad, and used in 20 different countries, all Muslim countries. Okay? So if you can see the religious difference and then make use of that, you can be successful. Also, in Islamic culture, they forbids interest. Interest is forbidden. So, at a bank or financial institutions, you cannot charge interest. If you're a bank operating in an Islamic country, what do you do? What do you do? You cannot charge interest. We know that the banks, make money on interest spread, right? You charge a higher interest rate when loaning the money to giving the loans to someone who needs it, and you paying the depositors, lower interest rate, right, to their interest on their interest income, right. So the difference between the two is your profit, right. If the Islamic law forbids interest, how can you operate? Of course, they have banks, right? They actually operate without charging the interest, but they give you a gift, right? Give a customer gifts. The gifts could be something valuable, useful, or even stocks in large corporations. Right? Also, in Islamic cultures, people in those countries, they encourage modest dress. Does that mean that you cannot sell colorful, beautiful dresses? No. You can sell them to women. They can wear that, and not in public, but they can wear that under their garments and at home. Right? Also, Islamic culture requires food to be halal certified, kind of like similar to the kosher. Right? They cannot. You cannot sell alcohol or pork products. Keep that in mind, right? If you're selling certain burgers. Okay? They adhere to ritual cleanliness. Okay? and they require halal certification on all the food in those countries. Marketing and Eastern relations. In Eastern cultures or Eastern countries, like in Hinduism and Buddhism countries, many people are vegetarians. If you're McDonald's, right, your traditional food is like mainstay food items are like hamburgers, beef hamburgers. What do? You find some veggie burgers. Okay? In Japan, they have a lot of Shinto religion. There's a Shinto religion in Japan. A lot of Shinto temples. They have their priests. They use prayers to open the first Starbucks abroad in Tokyo. Okay? Families. The concept of family and family relations are quite different from country to country. Yeah. In this country and in Europe, the nuclear families are diminishing. Right? Household sizes are going down in US and Europe, and probably also in Japan and Korea as well. Right? Extended families used to be more important in developing world. The importance of a Chinese clan is a good example. But nowadays, I think the Chinese, Taiwanese, you don't see that many extended families anymore. Okay? And also the role of male versus female, like house cleaning in Japan, for example, used to be non-existent. Now they are, they're very popular. Right? Used to be done by female only. Now male are doing that as well. Right? They're not staying home, not only the staying home wives, but also staying home husbands right now, in Japan. If you look at the percentage of female in population in the labor force from different countries, you see something quite interesting. Excuse me. Right? You countries from Australia to Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Chile, and China, Denmark, etc., etc. You can see that the population growth rate, this is about old number, okay, 2005, it was a little older, but I can just give you a sense, give you an idea here. Okay? If you look at the population growth rates, it varies from like a minus 0.3 in Hungary to as high as 1.4 in Brazil. Okay? And the share of women in adult labor force, varies from 22% in Egypt, to as high as 47% in Denmark. Right? You can see that varies a lot. Right? Look at down the second column from Malaysia, Mexico, Netherlands, all the way to Venezuela. The population growth rate, a small increase, a modest increase. Right? Malaysia is high, almost 2%. Right? Russian Federation is in decline there. Right? Look at share of women in adult labor force. The highest one is Russia. Right? Russian, 49%. Almost half, men and women. Right? But the lowest one, you can see there's Turkey, only 26%. Right? Also, beyond family, they are high trust versus low trust society. Okay, sorry, I'm recording. I cannot go back. Right? In some countries, some cultures, they have a lot more trust, between people, between families, between among in society. Some cultures, there's less trust. Okay, less trust. Right? You have to put everything in writing. Right? In some countries, you have a good handshake will seal the deal. But in other countries, you just have to have a written deal signed by lawyers, to be enforceable. Okay? Also, education has impact on marketing. Okay? Levels of participation by people, impact on consumers and employees are very different. Okay? Adult literacy rates in different countries vary a lot. Okay? You can see that in most countries, the male literacy rate is higher than that of female, right? Some countries, they are almost identical. Like the highest one would be like Armenia, 100% male, 99% female are literate. Okay? And on the low end, you can see that, let me see which one is the lowest. Like in Ghana, it's only 66% of male and 50% of female are literate. Okay. Russia is 100 of male, 99% for female, and Estonia, very high, 100% for both male and female. Okay, you see, does it have impact on marketing and business? Of course, if you go to a country where like half of the people are illiterate, what do? Can you use a lot of advertising copy in your advertising message? A lot of words, descriptions, words copy in the ads? You probably don't want to, right? You probably want to use more pictures, graphs, and other things, okay? Also, attitude toward time is very different from country to country. There is monochronic versus polychronic countries or cultures, In some countries, you're supposed to do only one thing at a time, no multitasking. Whereas in polychronic culture, you can do a lot of things at the same time. You do in this country, for example, while you're at work, you're not really supposed to talk too much about the family issues, right? In some Latin American countries, you can talk with your boss, for extended period of time about your family issues. Okay? Also, different culture has different temporal orientation. Temporal orientation. There is a past orientation, like in Europe and Middle East. That is when people are putting a huge emphasis on what happened in the past, the traditional way. Right? If you find your ancestors, attending the same boarding school, with your European partners, you probably find you can build a rapport more easily. Okay, that's past orientation. People look at value, emphasize the past experience, past records, past things, traditional stuff. Right? There are countries or culture that maintain present orientation, like in Mexico. Yeah, they don't care. They could care less about what's in the past. They don't care about today, now. Okay, we can be amigos, friends. Let's do the deal. Okay? There are also some countries that are future orientation, like the United States. Yeah, we could care less about what's in the past, even care less about what's in now, right? But as long as we can do business in the future, Americans will go for it. Okay, that's our tradition. Okay. Also, work and leisure times are different. We work a lot more in America than the Europeans. They took more. They tend to take more vacation time, so spend less on work. Okay. Hofstede, I said Geert Hofstede, the scholar on studying culture, he identified several different dimensions of a culture, right? Power distance is one, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity and femininity, and uncertainty avoidance. Okay, let's look at each and every one of them, and you will be tested for this. Okay, make sure you understand all these concepts here, all those measures of culture, all the different dimensions of culture, and know its meaning and significance. Okay, first, power distance. What is power distance? Power distance definition. Power distance is the extent to which less powerful members within the society accept that the power is unevenly distributed. Okay? The extent to which less powerful members within society accept that the power is unevenly distributed. We acknowledge, some people, some people have power, some members have power, some do not have the power. We accept that fact. That's power distance. Okay? In high power distance society, right, where there's a larger distance, right, children are expected to be obedient to parents. You can see that America is probably not, right? Where our children can be expected to be in disagreement with parents, not in a high power distance society. Subordinates are less likely to contradict bosses, even if the boss is wrong. Okay. And in low power distance society, it's opposite. Okay. The second dimension is individualism versus collectivism. Okay. In this case, the world is viewed as in groups or out groups, right? In groups or out groups, right? And individuals are identified by group allegiance and role, right? Groups are established, strong, and cohesive. You don't just choose which group to join. You are in that group, right? Non-group members may eventually become trusted outsiders, okay? There are countries and cultures that are more individualistic, or some are more collectivistic, okay? Like between US and Japan, what do you think? American is more individualism kind of culture. Japanese, more collectivism culture. Okay? Individualistic cultures are more open to outsiders and foreign ideas. Okay? Another dimension, third dimension, is masculinity and femininity. Okay? Male versus female, masculinity and femininity. And masculinity is associated with assertiveness. Right? Masculine societies value ambition, competitiveness, and high earnings, make money, and ambitious, very competitive, make a lot of money. If we value those values, we value those concepts, we are a masculine society. Is America a masculine society? Yes. Okay. Femininity is associated with modesty and nurturing. Okay. Compare US and Canada, where the US is probably more masculine society and Canada is more feminine society. Femininity associated with modesty and nurturing. The feminine societies are concerned with public welfare and caring for the underdog. And you can look at the welfare system in the country to tell the difference. For example, between U.S. and Canada. U.S. masculine, more masculine, and Canada more feminine. Okay. The fourth dimension is the uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance. Are we trying hard to avoid uncertainty? Are we willing to take risk? Do we dare to take risk? Right? Uncertainty avoidance is the state of being uneasy or worried about what may happen in the future. Yeah? Anxious in general. Okay? Uncertainty avoidant societies don't like ambiguity. If something is ambiguous, don't know what's going on, what the outcome is going to be, they don't like it, right? They consider the different to be threatening, right? They tend to be better implementers than innovators, okay? If uncertainty avoidance is high, they just want to implement, yeah? And uncertainty avoidance is low, they tend to be innovators, try something new. Risk it. Right? The Hofstede and other scholars have measured the cultural dimensions that we just described, and measure them in quantitative ways and come up with numbers, figures across all countries. Right? The Hofstadter scores are relative. They're relative. They're not absolute. Right? It's relative. Right? Compared to United States, Japan is a collectivist society because the score of US on individualism is 91, very high. For Japan, it's only 46. So that's why the US is more an individualistic society. Japan, lower score, is a collectivist society. But if you compare Japan with South Korea, though, Japan is actually more individualistic. Okay? The individualism score for Japan is 46, just as above. But for Korea, South Korea, Koreans, is only 18. So it's a very, very collectivist society. Okay? Compared with the Koreans, Japanese is more individualistic. Okay? Let's look at some Hofstadter scores. US, Canada, and UK. Yeah. If you look at power distance, you see that the US is 40, the highest, and Canada is 39, a little bit lower, and UK is 35. So power distance is lower there, right? Individualism, US is the highest, 91, right? Canada is lower, is lowest, right? UK is in between, right? And look at masculinity versus femininity. U.S. is more masculine, higher than Canada, which is 52. U.K. is somewhat similar to U.S. Okay? Uncertainty avoidance. Right? Americans and Canadians are quite a little more, definitely more uncertainty avoidant than the U.K. British people. Yeah? And that's probably the reason that the British people, many new products are being tested. If the new products just got into the market, the marketers, manufacturers want to test that in the UK because British, they're more likely to try it out. Low uncertainty avoidance. Okay? Also helps us scores for like France, Germany, Hungary, and Romania, European, Western Europe, and the Eastern European countries. Okay? You can see the power distance is very low in Germany, extremely high in Romania. Okay? They're even considering bringing back their monarchy in Romania. Okay? You can see that. Individualism scores, highest in Hungary and lowest in Romania. Okay? Masculinity higher in Hungary, okay, lower in France and Romania. Uncertainty and avoidance really high in Romania, okay, and really lower, much lower in Germany. So where do you want to try a new product? Go to Germany. Go to Germans. Okay. Hofstadter scores, if you look at some Arab countries, Israel, Mexico, and Chile. Right? Part of this in Arab countries, most of them are monarchies. Right? It's 80, very high. Israel, the lowest, very low, extremely low. Individualism, higher in Israel, and lower in Chile and Arab countries. Masculinity, Arab countries and Mexico are higher, Chile is lower. Uncertainty avoidance, Israel is high, okay, and also Chile is also high. Okay, but the Mexico and Arab countries are lower. Okay. If you want to, remember there are 4 dimensions of culture, right? You have the scores of each country, and each one of those dimensions. Right? If you plot the scores, right? Plot, you see, you can plot any 2 pairs of the dimensions. For example, in this case, in this chart, it's power distance versus individualism index. Okay, and the score here from 0, low to high, from low to high. Okay, and then you can actually put the countries on the chart, and then you can group the countries. Okay, you can group countries. Okay, and in this quadrant, there's a small power distance, more individualistic. In this quadrant, large power distance and more collectivist. This one, small power distance and collectivist. In here, I think this is Costa Rica or something. Right? And in this quadrant, lower power distance, more individualist. Right? I'm sorry, this should be, individualistic. Okay? So you can see which countries go together. The United States is, let me see, where's US? Help me find it. Where's USA? Do you see that? I forgot that. Right here, sorry. It's smaller in half distance and more individualistic. Right? Great Britain is very similar to US here. Australia similar. Netherlands and Canada and New Zealand were similar. Okay, and in larger power distance and individualist, you have Spain. I think this is South Africa, Italy, Belgium, and France. Okay. In a larger power distance, more collectivist, you see a lot of countries over here. Okay, it's like Japan, Argentina, Iran, Brazil, and Indonesia, Turkey, Mexico, Hong Kong, Singapore, etc. Okay, so that's just one way to present or group countries or markets by the cultural dimensions. Okay, you can use other tool to plot the plot. Okay. Also, culture affects marketing or advertising communications. Okay? What is communication? First, what is communication? Yeah. In communication, you have a message, and you have message encoded and message decoded. Right? Your message, now, like for example, I give you the lecture. Right? I'm giving you this lecture right now. Right? My message is the content of this chapter. Right? I encoded in the English language. Right? And send that to you. If this is a face-to-face class, I'll speak to you face-to-face. But since it's an online class, I'm recording that, and you'll listen to that from Blackboard, right? So that's the message being transmitted. But when you receive the message, when you hear my lecture, when you hear my presentation, right, you're going to decode my message. You're going to understand, perceive, and then try to understand my message and interpret it in your own way, and become that message or knowledge will become internalized. Okay, so how do we encode a message? We can encode a message verbally and non-verbally, right? Especially when face-to-face, body language, right? You can use it linguistically, use dictions and syntax, right? And also we can encode it contextually, different depending on the context. Okay. Okay. So one way to, of course, we use language to encode, right? And you understand language to decode it, right? The official language of the countries, you can see links given here. Right? In Africa, many countries speak Portuguese, French, English, Arabic, Swahili, French, English, and Somali, etc. In European countries, Dutch, French, German, Finnish, Swedish, French, German, Italian, Dutch, Frisian, for example. Right? In Russia, of course, Russian. In Spain, Spanish. Switzerland, they speak French, German, Italian, and Romansh. Okay? UK, English, and Welsh. Okay? In Americas, many speak English, but many more speak Spanish. You can see Spanish or Portuguese. Okay? In Middle East, mostly Arabic, some French, English, right? Farsi in Iran, Hebrew and Arabic in Israel, Arabic and French in Lebanon, Turkey in Turkey. In Asia, they have Urdu, English in Pakistan, English, Sinhala, and Tamil in Sri Lanka, Japanese in Japan, Malay in Malaysia, Tagalog, English in Philippines, Chinese, English, Malay, Tamil in Singapore. and Korean in South Korea, and Thai in Thailand, of course. Okay? So that's the official language of selected countries. Okay? There is when you speak or market a product in another country, there is an issue of translation, right? Translating your advertising copy message, to another country. But you be careful. There are many challenges in translation. In Spanish, Colgate, or toothpaste, right? The brand name toothpaste, brand name of the toothpaste Colgate means go hang yourself. So you better change to another one, right? In German, the word probe means to test or rehearsal. So buyers thought the Ford Probe was a used car, okay, not a new car. Right? In the UK, Mars, the candy manufacturers, originally labeled the Snickers as marathon, so as not to be confused with the knickers, which means women's underwear. Okay? In German, half tissues refer to a whole house, so you better not use that. Right? So you need to realize the cultural challenges, different translation challenges, and do better to make your communication better. Okay? Cross-cultural communications. We are born embedded into cultural context. Okay? Socialization in cultural context shapes managers' worldviews, impacting our beliefs, values, and behavior. Right? There is a primary socialization, secondary socialization, and the tertiary socialization. Primary socialization from your family, your close friend, in your early childhood, that shapes your view of the world, right? And affecting your beliefs, values, and behavior. Secondary socialization, institutional socialization in schools and organizations we participate in as a child, in Boy Scout, Girl Scout, sports team, etc. Tertiary socialization, the institutional socialization in college, vocational training, and employers. Okay? That's the cross-cultural communication. Language communication. Language affects our communication. The forms of address. How do you address someone? Yeah. In this country, you call your professor, you can say Dr. Frank, Frank, or Dr. Shea, whatever you want, right? But probably not in South Korea or Japan, Asian countries. I mean, you need to formally call him or her doctor or professor. Okay? Context of language. Right? Some languages are they're low context cultures versus high context cultures. In low context cultures, what do you say is what do you mean. What do you mean is what you say. Okay? In high context cultures, what they say may not be what they mean. So that's a little challenging, but you have to understand that, realize that. Yeah? This picture shows a Japanese managerial training, showing them how to be smiling, so giving a smiley face. Yeah. Showing emotions. Some cultures we call it affective cultures. People show their emotions easily. They're angry, they're happy, or whatever. Right? In some other cultures, they have neutral cultures, so-called neutral cultures. People do not show their emotions easily. That's why they have this training in Japan. Okay? The importance of language. Translations found in hotels across the world will show, make you laugh. Right? In France, for example, they have this English translation. They're saying, "Please leave your values at the desk." Please leave your value at the desk. Right? In Mexico, the manager has personally passed all the water served here. So, yeah, you just translate it literally. Okay? In Japan, you are invited to take advantage of the chambermaid. Oh. Okay? In Norway, it says ladies are required not to have children at a bar. Okay. In Greece, you see that we will execute customers in strict rotation. So you better be careful with your translations. Okay. How do you overcome the language barrier? Right? You use translating, you use translators. Right? For translation problems, you need to find competent translators to solve the problem. Right? Which countries to learn? Yeah, which language to learn? As a business language, you probably should learn Spanish. Maybe some say some Japanese, or maybe Chinese. Okay, so how do we deal with culture shock? You go to another country, there will be culture shock, right? You travel to another country, there will be culture shock, right? So to deal with that, you need to be culturally prepared. Prepare yourself, okay? Culturally prepared. Be aware of local communication complexities. Just ask questions, learn from others, and get to know those complexities. Yeah? Mix with host nationals. Just commingle with them, okay? So you learn a lot. Okay? Be creative and experimental. Be creative and experimental. People will not laugh at you for trying to learn, the culture, the language. Okay? Be culturally sensitive. Good idea to be culturally sensitive, so you can learn. You will not offend others. Okay? Dealing with culture shock, you need to recognize complexities in host cultures. Okay? You need to see yourself a culture bearer, bearer of a culture, because you're going to be the bearer of your own culture, your American culture, in front of people in another country. Okay? Be patient, understanding, and accepting of yourself and your hosts. Be nice, be compassionate. That's basically, okay? Be realistic in your expectations. Yeah, be realistic in your expectations, and accept the challenge of intercultural experiences.